Let's go. Okay. What a day. What a day. Man. Hold up. What's going on here, man? I tell you what. Let me let y'all know. Had a room scheduled. Had to delete the room, deleted all the notes, deleted everything in it. I don't know if this room had to start a whole new room. We gonna make it do what it do though. It's gonna be we gonna make it do what it do. It's say, is it in you? It gotta be in you and not on you. Okay, can't be on you. It gotta be in you. I don't know if this is working. I think it is. Say start a new room on Clubhouse. I don't know. It says start. You can hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you for that, Master Menelec. Peace to you too, brother.
Peace.
All right. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Clubhouse. Peace to you, Akoti Yafe, Iris McCabe, Akoti Maria. We got Anuski TV. Let's make it do what it do. Let's make it do what it do. Because we're going to talk about, and I'll tell you what, if this wasn't the perfect beginning to what we are going to talk about today of being in you and not on you. Okay? That's something that Chief has said. I get credit for it a lot. I'm going to keep running with it.
Hold on, is it Chief or is it you?
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Absolutely. I'm going to take it and I'm going to run with it. I'm going to take that rock and I'm going to run with it. Man. So earlier today, as like I was saying, I was getting everything set up. Had to delete a room, had to put this room up, so everything was gone. So it makes me think of now when we talk about peace. Peace is maintaining your identity in the midst of chaos. So when everything is going awry, going astray around you, can you maintain your identity? And it was one of those that, okay, if everything is not there, what do you do? do you start to hit the panic button? Because now I need all of those things. I need all of these medallions. I need all of my accessories. I need all of my things in order to keep me afloat. Or what have you learned up until this point that you can start to speak on? However, Coach Maria did restore it as of 4 minutes ago. So nonetheless, it was one of them. All right, what you gonna do? And it's like in life or in anything that we do, it has to be in you, right? You just don't. You can't. Some people like to turn things on and off like a light switch, or they try to wear, like Chief would say, wear things like a shirt, and you can't wear it like a shirt. You have to totally immerse yourself into whatever it is that you're doing, to let it change you down to a genetic level, to let it change you so that now the lens that you start to see life through is the lens of whatever culture that you have subscribed to. So some people will speak on, and I've heard Chief say this before on other podcasts and things like that, of if you subscribe to Orishas and you subscribe to, the spirituality, you have to subscribe to the culture. And if you don't subscribe to the culture, then what are we really talking about? And what happens is, like it says in the New Way, people try to rebuff or, try to smooth out or try to talk about or try to only experience the things that they want to experience, but then shun the aspects that don't feel comfortable to them. They shun the things that, this is going to now start to make me live a different way. And I'm not interested in living a different way. I'm interested in doing the same thing I've been doing, but actually sprinkling a little bit of the secret sauce on top, so that therefore now I can move and groove in the community. I ain't grooving. I can move in it, and I can at least present myself or purport myself to be like I know what's going on, as opposed to actually living it from the inside out. Now, one of the things that they talked about, as some of you know, or some of you may not know, I spoke about before going back to school and getting my master's. And it was one of the things that was difficult for me to do was go back and get my master's, when I was like, yo, why would I need to go back to get my master's when I'm getting a master's level education right here from a podcast, right? And I think it's interesting because I'm going to show you some of the things that's being in the class, and then I'm going to show you what's already presented right in front of your face, what's already presented on the plate, which I find fascinating. Of now, one of the things that is spoken about, at least in this, is cultural competency versus cultural humility. And cultural competency is just having a knowing of certain cultures. So, as culture comes from the Latin colere, which means to cultivate, or we could look at culture, which is simply the way you do things. Now, cultural competency is just being competent of something. So I can read about Anu all I want to. I can read the book. I could, and if somebody asks me in a conversation, then I can say, yeah, I know about that. They do about that's that Orishas, that's when people, I'm going back to when people start to pronounce things, and you can tell that they have read and they have some cultural competency of it because of the way that they start to pronounce things, that whatever. So nonetheless, it's having a knowing of it. And if you've ever heard some people who say having an understanding, an overstanding, and an understanding, I would start to equate that to some of that as well. Just having an understanding of something is standing outside of a building, and somebody will say, yeah, this is what's going on inside of that building, right? I can gain an understanding from that building by somebody just telling me and me standing outside. Now, me getting an understanding of it is now going inside of that building. Once I go inside of the building, I start looking around the building. Now I get a better understanding of, or an understanding of what is going on, right? And then there's another piece that says, now let me start to see how this building was developed and constructed, and ultimately start to live in this on a day in and day out basis. Now I'm going to get an overstanding of it where I can start to now talk about it from a different perspective, which is going to now take you to cultural humility. Now, cultural humility starts to say, you know what, this is a daily process. This is a daily thing where I can't just get information from one day and take that and run with it like I'm fully versed in it. Cultural humility tells me, or as we can define, humility is just knowing your limitations. So if you know your limitations, then it starts to tell you there's a lot of things that I do not know. The thing that starts to come to mind in the movie that, and it ain't what you think. It ain't what you think. Avatar, right? And in the movie Avatar, Jake Sully went, and as he was meeting or learning about the tribe and, you know, the sacred tree and Iwa and all of these things, one of the things that that told him was it's hard to pour into a cup that's already full, and we don't really, you know, need to. It's hard to teach, quote unquote, your kind, because y'all come in thinking that you already know. You already think that you have cultural competency, and there's no cultural humility. And humility says that I know my limitations. Humility says that this is an ongoing process. Humility says that, you know what, I need to learn, I need to unlearn, to relearn, and start to move forward. Now, it becomes problematic when one is starting to hold on to what they think they already know and thinking that you're going to come in and show somebody else a better way of life. You're going to come in and you're going to start to colonize people and telling them how they should live and how they should. But you know what? When you start speaking to a people that are so grounded and so immersed in their culture and it's in them, it's just not like, oh yeah, I'm going to just stop this and take this shirt off and put a different shirt on. That's not how this works. This is just a matter of now me saying that I am totally immersed in this and I'm totally invested in it and I'm going to live this thing and I'm going to live it. Now, either you can come in and we can see, and one of the things I said, we can see if we can cure you of your sickness. And if we can cure you of your sickness, then you might be able to have a different perspective and find yourself in this community. Now, that's only interesting because, well, that's not only interesting. I find it interesting because when people start to come into Anu, and as you know, there's a whole process that when one would come into Anu, there's an old way of thinking. There's an old way of learning. There's an old culture that one must essentially learn to let go of. In order for me to hand you something new, you have to let go of what's already in your hand. I can't. So many people want to hoard and try to. No. I'm a still hold on to this, but give me some more of that. And when this happens, it's like it goes back to even the movie Avatar. It's hard to pour into a cup that's already full. Are you willing to pour out what you've already known or what you think you've known in order to now become anew? It's like in the movie. Now I'm going to my movie, The Matrix. And in that movie, when he said, you know what, it's hard to show people a different way past a certain age, because by a certain age, the brain takes a hold of certain things and it doesn't want to let it go. So one can walk through the process of becoming anew, of learning about the culture and learning about the ways, but you can hear it in the beginning and say, you know what, this is something that I want to invest in. Why is this something that I want to invest in? Because you start to read, and I'm gonna start pulling from the in the Anu way salvation model. That's what it is. So I should have put it in these notes. But the salvation model, so if anybody is wondering where I will be pulling from, that's where it's coming from. So if we start to look at Anu hold themselves to a superior specification, irrespective of what exists around them. Now, kind of self-explanatory here, because there's a world of cultural insanity. And with this becomes, people start to say so many different things of what one should be doing, what one can be doing, or you can do anything. You know, this is, you're an individual here. It's not living for a group until the group starts to tell you what to do. But you know what? You can do anything that you want, even though that the creator has told you this is what you can do with your body. This is what you can do. These are now go out and have fun with it. But instead of say, you know, why do I got to do this? Why I got to do that? I'm going to start doing what the world does. So it's now becomes a sky war. It's the wars for your thoughts, the wars for your brain. And if I can control that, or if even the information control of what you now start to ingest on a day in and day out basis, I can start to control your actions. I can start to control you. It reminds me of if we look at the Skinner box, and by B.F. Skinner, where it took a dove or it took a mouse and it put it inside of this box. Now, when it took something out of its natural environment and placed it into a controlled environment, then now what it found was, if I started to now give it different commands of when it can eat, I give it different commands of, you know, when it can sleep. I start to put something underneath it to shock it, so it never really gets comfortable either. Then what it found was, you can start to control and manipulate the consciousness of it. So now if you can control and manipulate the consciousness of it, then you can start to control and manipulate it. So where it never had a concept of time, now it does. It has a feeding time, right? Where it never had a concept of you know, 5 or counting, now it has a concept of that, because something is in control of its resources, which now it goes back to one of the great things Dr. Amos Wilson had said, is who's in control of your resources, and who's in control ultimately of somebody controlling and manipulating your consciousness. What is in you? It got to be in you. It can't be on you. Right? Because what ultimately is going to happen is, when you are faced with adversity, when you are faced with a challenge, whatever is in you is what's going to come out of you, what is going to get pulled out. So even though someone might say that I'm invested in a new culture, I'm invested in, I'm not any of that. I'm invested in African culture, whatever that is, and I'm invested in, you know, all of these different, when you are faced with a challenge, when you are faced with a marital challenge, when you are faced with just a friend challenge, when you are faced with anxiety, when you are faced with depression, when you are faced with all of these different things and ailments that one may be faced with, what ultimately are you going to be pulling from? What have you been feeding yourself and ingesting that ultimately now how are you going to respond to that? If you start even looking at some of the things that are built on Chiefs, breaking down a lot of psychology. And why? Because how many times have you seen people in different situations or doing different things that they do not or may not even know the answer to? Things start to become like, that's when people start to say, I'm just heavy. Like I'm very heavy, man. And when I'm heavy, and now you try to self-medicate. And what does that start to look like? One starts to look like reaching for different medication, and even I think Chief even said, he called it medication ego, I think. No, it wasn't. Some ego, pharmaceutical ego. Of now you just try to numb it though. Or you could reach for a drink, or you could reach for weed, smokes. Somebody can start to have unlimited amounts of sex. It's all of these different things that one would start to reach for, that start to say, you know what, these are my now coping mechanisms, and this is what I pull from that's inside of me when I'm now faced with a challenge. So it is now a matter of what is in you. You can't just wear this like a shirt. It has to be in you and not on you, because that's ultimately how you're going to respond in a challenge. So as I knew, we may find ourselves encircled and even suspended above a downpour of cultural insanity, but as long as we do not absorb the colony crazy, we will stay afloat and earn valiant rank through our own right. Didn't fit all in there, but nonetheless. So what are you ingesting on a day in and day out basis? Some days you're not going to feel like studying. Some days you're not going to feel like putting it in. Some days you just feel like you want to be entertaining. But essentially, what are you gonna do? And a lot of times, here's the thing: we get caught up in trying to help others because it makes sometimes. I'm not saying everybody, but it makes people feel good about themselves by saying or giving advice to other people. Because you know what, I'm able to now put myself in a situation or put myself in a way where somebody's like, you know what, they start giving me validation because of what I have learned from them. So as opposed to me living it and showing it through my own actions, I now can just teach it. And because I can now tell somebody else about it, even though I'm not, and they're like, man, you so right. Which I've seen so many people, even when they come in on new and they just start roaching from the information. I know a lot of people like that too. Yeah. So you start roaching from the information, but then try to put a different spin on it. You try to put a different twist on it, thinking that somebody can't see you. Yeah. Thinking that somebody can't see you, but people can see you. And now it's like it's either in you or you trying to wear it like a suit. You trying to wear it like a Halloween costume. Yeah, I'm trying to scare people out here, or I'm trying to show them that I'm righteous. Until you run into somebody who's righteous, until you run into somebody who's doing it, now all of a sudden you're gonna start backpedaling, or you're gonna start saying, "Yeah, this experience is not for me." Is it not for you, or now is somebody challenging some of the sicknesses that you have, trying to cure you of it, like Jake Sully when he came over there to the Avatar? Like, which one is it? Now you have a wonderful opportunity to either grow, and you have a wonderful opportunity to now have the culture inside of you, or you have the opportunity to go back to what is comfortable and to go back to what is normal, to go back, at least in your eyes. You have that ability. So what happens then is sometimes now I and it's my ego, and Chief has told me this many times, is that it's not on me to save anybody. And I'm thinking like I'm the one that has to do it. And it even says it right here in the salvation model. Our role is not to save the masses of humankind. Our role is to live above the deluge of wayward emotions and aggressive ignorance that rules humanity. All right. There's and again, this is coming from the salvation model. Go read the whole thing. All right. It's not that long to read, but it's very rich and it's very dense. Our role is not to save the masses of humankind. And there's so many times where people can get caught up into trying to pull or hoist other people up when technically they haven't pulled or hoisted them on their own selves up. You cannot give what you do not have. And if you don't have anything of nutritional value for yourself, how do you expect to hand that over to anybody else? So this is why even when if you read it, it'll start to tell you that there's a rope that is let down, or a chain, which is the DNA strand, I think is what it says. But again, go read the DNA strand. That one is supposed to latch. You're supposed to latch. You hoist yourself up. You got to put your own work in. Because when you put your own work in, then the information becomes alive and active inside of you, and you're not just regurgitating what somebody else has said. It's easy for me to get on here and regurgitate what Chief has said. And I'm telling you it's easy because I've done it. I've done it. I've made those mistakes. I have said something and then somebody said, what did you mean by that? And then I couldn't back it up. Well, I didn't say that. He said that. Well, then why are you saying that then? Right? And then you got to look like a fool. To avoid all of that, before you start saying anything, it's like, how did he get there? How did it go to, and then you got to try, at least attempt to put some work in, so that now the information becomes alive and active inside of you, so you're not just now walking around like somebody who, yeah, I'm part of it, but then when you actually get presented with somebody who does know it, now you backing down. So it's one of those, make sure that you have something of nutritional value, not just listening to it, being on the podcast. Yeah, this is great. You're listening to information. Yeah, this is great. You're listening to the podcast. Yeah, that is great. That's one thing. You're getting a set. You're getting an understanding. Are you willing to get an understanding and walk inside to gain an overstanding, which is going to challenge you now? But that's something that you have to do for yourself. Somebody can't pull you up and say, "Oh yeah, let me show you all of the on the floor 23 when you're on floor 1." I'm not going to pull you up there because it's not going to mean anything to you. You're still not going to get an understanding of it. All of a sudden, oh yeah, that's deep, brother. That's deep. No, are you willing to put the work in so that now you can feel that burn in your thighs? You can feel that burn in your lower back. You feel that burn. So now you become anew. You become a new person. Yeah. So our deliverance is not just entwined in our aptitude for cyclical information intake. It's not just getting on your Instagram and posting some books that you got. It's not just, yeah, you leading your church band. Yeah. It's not just you saying that you have read the I New Way, and then soon as somebody asks you a question about it, you then start to say, "Oh yeah, man, it's just it's so deep." You know, it's so much information, as if somebody's gonna get off your butt now, as if somebody doesn't see that you're just trying to BS them. Like when somebody starts to talk about the truth, and then they say, "Oh, well, this is my truth," and so now somebody can't question what your truth and your reality is. Not to say that that's a way to undermine the truth. Like all of these little built-in tactics where people try to get them off your butt. Nobody gonna get off of you. Are you willing to stand tall? Are you willing to say, "Nah, man, this is what's in me"? And when I'm presented with a challenge, when I'm presented with something, when there's 5 seconds on the clock and everybody else is tired, watch me rise. Watch me do what I'm supposed to do, because ultimately this is what I've been training for. Are you willing to stand tall, or are you just going to back down? When you come into our new, you're going to get challenged. Your concepts, your thoughts, your theories, your ideology is going to get challenged. Let's see if you are about what you say you're about, and if it's not. And the only way that you can become anew is to say, you know what I thought I had, or the foundation that I thought I was standing on, it really ain't worth 2 nickels of this cyclical information that I've been entwined in. It ain't worth nothing. So if it ain't worth nothing, are you willing to unlearn to relearn? And yes, that might mean that you might. What happens is some people get caught up in, how long is this going to take me? It doesn't matter how long it's going to take you. How long are you going to keep making excuses just to get on the path? That's the real question. How long are you going to keep jaw-japping? That's the real question. How long are you going to stand outside of the gates but still just try to take? Yeah, and then go back to your own little circle and be like, yeah, well, I thought about it, and yeah. And I want to call some of you by names, but I'm not going to do it. Yeah. You keep thinking. Yeah, you keep thinking. And you keep thinking that we don't see you, and we see you. We see you. Yeah. With the new pulsation commands renovation within. It has to be in you and not on you. You can't sit up here and play. You're trying to talk slick to a can of oil, and it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. Yeah. All right. So at any rate, there is a great effort required in leaving worldly attachments beneath you. This is when you start to hear, how many times have you heard Chief say, "Our new demands change." Demands change. It's very easy to get in and be like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm in now, I can relax." No, it ain't no relaxing. Let's see, what you got that LinkedIn in, huh? Are you consistently pushing yourself in order to level up? I'm gonna say this again. There's a Les Brown quote that says, "People are not miserable because they have set the target too high and missed. People are miserable because they have set the target too low and hit." It's very easy to sit in a congregation and just sit there and be a blue chair member or whatever. That's right. That's right. Y'all say that's easy. Get your little fix for the day, and as soon as you walk out and somebody asks you, "Well, what did he talk about?" Talked about a lot of things you don't even know, because you're not even invested, and you're not really even, you're just looking to get back to your worldly things. Your worldly attachments. Well, the game come on. I go to the early service so I can go watch the game. Yeah, I'm going to the early service so I can go ahead and give me a little as soon as I get up out of here. Yeah. Yeah. What are you invested in? What are you invested in? Or is it in you? What's in you? You cannot wear this thing like a shirt. It has to be in you and not on you. And when you run into somebody where it's in them, you're going to get offended. You're going to become offended. You're going to feel like you're going to clutch your pearls. It's a personal attack. It's not a personal attack. You've just been faking for so long, and now somebody sees you and is offering you an opportunity to grow. Are you going to be willing to take it? Or are you going to pee down your leg, man? Come on, man. All right, so if you were to grab a strand of redemption and be hoisted up, you would not be doing your own work of ascension. You got to put it's like in training day, when my man was like, I put money in it for anybody to put a cap in this. And it was like, look, man, you got to put your own work in. You got to put what good is it to ultimately hoist somebody up, but then now all of a sudden their stamina hasn't been built up. So now when everybody takes off and starts running, then they can't run with everybody because it's like, I can't breathe. The air is thin up here. It's the breath of God's up here. And I shouldn't be up here because I haven't put the work in to even now rub shoulders with them. So now you only become as strong as your weakest link. Henceforth, some males shouldn't even be allowed to procreate. You shouldn't be up here, which is fine. Which is fine. It's like it says, this ain't for everybody. This ain't for everybody. What it say? We're only interested in the special ones. The ones that know, you know what? Nah, I know what it takes to be great. And if I don't know what it takes, I'm willing to put the work in to be great. I'm not just willing to, it's not enough for me just to say that I belong to a group. That's not enough. I want to actually represent it on a day in and day out basis, not just when this camera comes on and somebody can put on a front or a show, not just when, somebody asks me about it, but ultimately I am going to be a living, breathing vessel of it. And when I'm a living and breathing vessel of it, now all of a sudden what happens is your own presence starts to convict other people. When you start to walk in a room, it starts to convict other people. Where some people now start to, this person just thinks, I didn't never said any of that. You said that. But again, if one is starting to live and so caught up in some worldly attachments and worldly environments, and they see somebody who is levitating above it, well, it's either going to do one or two things. Either they're going to convict themselves and start to talk about you, or they're going to start to ask, man, you know what? How do I do it? Or what happens for me is they don't want to hear it until something goes wrong. And then when something goes wrong, then it's like, okay, now how do I fix this roof? When you were offered the opportunity to fix the roof when the sun was out. But now that it's raining, now you want to fix the roof. But again, can you now, what does it say? Above the deluge, man. Where we at? Suspended above the downpour of cultural insanity. You have that opportunity. What are you going to do with it? That's that power is in the moment, man. In the moment, and people think that moments are going to last forever. People think that doors are going to open forever. People think that things are going to be forever. Oh, really? Oh, really? Okay. Well, you're gonna get left. Run with me or run from me. All right. So here we go. The masses of people in the world are not looking to move beyond their human trappings, though people may profess it. Few are aimed to ascend to the realm that observes and controls their humanity. I don't need to talk about the rest of it. I can just talk about those who have came into our new and have been faced with either leveling up or holding on to their humanity, which is a deeper entrenchment into a lie. If you feel comfortable there, that is totally fine. But just know, and I'm gonna keep saying this because I feel like it's necessary to say, you are going to get challenged. It's a challenge. Y'all say this little fly stuff again of, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable until it's time to be uncomfortable. Now all of a sudden, whoa, it was something. Matter of fact, I was listening to a Coach Maria and Chief the other day, and when he's talking about, you want these traditional relationships, but do you have any traditional value? Very clear on what somebody else is supposed to do, very clear on what somebody else's role is, very clear on how you should be supported until somebody says, do you have any traditional value? One second. Let's see what we're talking about here. Let's talk about you. Whoa. I ain't come here for all of that. I can't possibly be the problem. I can't possibly have, because by the time people love to run down their stories and say how they're a saint and how they're a victim and how everything has done this to them. But as soon as somebody says, okay, let's see what you have done, they run. They run like little cowards. They run. Oh, no. I don't want to hear that. You telling me it's my fault? You telling me I'm brought on? Nah. Okay. Now, it's very easy though. It's very easy. They may profess how they want to grow. They may profess how much they help and they love other people and how much they do all. They profess all of this stuff until it's time to actually get down. One of the things you start to see in sports, even in basketball, when people like in the layup line and all of this, and you can see the ones with all of they little Nike wristbands on, and they have the shoes on, and they got all of this other stuff on, and they profess how good they are. And anytime somebody starts talking about it, you already know, like, you're not it, man. You're not it. Somebody who knows that like they can really play. It's not a thing of, I don't need to keep saying it because I already know, man. I know there's a lot of other people out there can get down, but I know I can hold my own too, though. Not as soon as I got to start saying it and all of that, you probably ride the bench. That's what you probably do, right? Because you know the energy and the effort that it takes in order to be great. It's not just when the lights come on Sunday or the lights come on Friday night or whatever the case may be, but you have put the work in when the lights are off and nobody is watching. That's when it starts to see the measure of a man and what really are you made of. Is what are you doing when nobody is watching you? Are you actually still putting that work in, or are you burning up and blazing up a spliff? Ain't nobody here to hold me accountable, right? I still can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that until I'm challenged with it, and now all of a sudden I pause and you don't think that somebody can see through you lying. Yeah, whatever. All right, so some stuck in their history and the credit that they consider to be their personalities. I'm the type of person I've heard Chief. This is what I'm saying, man. Once you have to, and that becomes the power that the whole podcast of one. Of when you learn one, you stick with one method, one teacher, one way of life, one culture. And I'm telling you now that you're gonna hit so many different angles. You're gonna be able to see when people start BSing, and you're gonna see it like that. It's a skill that you start to acquire over time. It just doesn't happen overnight. You gotta have to sit there, and you're gonna have to listen, 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 and then you go apply, and then you're gonna get punched in the face when you apply it because you're like, "Oops, I didn't see that coming in," and then you go back and listen, and then you go back and listen, and then you go back and listen, and then you can start to see the patterns that exist. Patterns that exist. And once you see the patterns, then you start to know the games that people play. And you see the games that people play because now you've seen what's sitting over top of their head. And when you see it sitting over top of their head, now it's like, okay, I know how to deal with this. And then, but people get caught up in saying, well, that's just the way I am. And once you say, well, I'm the type of person, Jesus said this, boy, get your popcorn ready. Here it comes. Get your popcorn ready. I'm the type of person that, look, I learned like this. I've heard people coming on there and say, I learned better if you would actually teach me. Nobody cares how you learn better. Are you willing to put the work in to become Anu, or do you still want to start to profess and speak and jaw jab all of this stuff that you still trying to hold on to? That goes back to, I think it was Kota Yafe saying, you holding on, maybe it was Emma Yakir, I don't, holding on to all of these bags. You're going to keep holding on to these bags of, well, you know, I'm just a shy person, or I'm just this, I'm the type of person. Nobody cares what type of person you are. Are you willing to become Anu? Are you willing to put that work in? And a lot of times you don't understand what you're able to achieve until you see it. So look around. Look what's being done. You don't have to look very far. You can look right at Chief and see, you know what, breaking down Thanksgiving, comes right back and talks about defeating anger, comes right back then and starts talking about women and needing direction and just giving you the game. What do you, and it ain't just talking for like 5-10 minutes. And then, you know what, hey, I'm fresh out of content, man. Or I'm speaking about the same thing that I spoke about yesterday. Like, you know me, I'm gonna talk about Matrix. I'm gonna talk about it today. I'm gonna talk about it tomorrow, and I'm gonna talk about it next month. He gonna talk about it once, and he's gonna talk about something different, and then come talk about something different. What do you think somebody is doing on a day in and day out basis to present that information like that? And if you think it's easy, try it. But it starts to give you some insight onto what is going on and what is going to be expected from you. And maybe not at that level, but you're going to have to start putting in some work. So now that's where people, no, man. When I started doing that, I couldn't breathe it felt like I was breathing through a straw. Yeah, that's going to happen. When I started running, man, my calves started burning and it felt like my right leg really wasn't down there. Yeah, that's gonna happen. You know, when I was studying late at night, you know, and I start getting cross-eyed and things start running together, man, and it felt like I just wasn't retaining information. Yeah, that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. Are you gonna push through, or are you gonna fold in? It has to be in you. It has to be a way of life. It has to be a culture. Not just something that you casually look through, because when you are presented with a test and when you are presented with a challenge, because they're going to come, how are you going to respond? What are you going to do? It has to be in you and not on you. Either way, as I knew, we grasp at the notion of striving beyond the glory that can only be held in the earth. That's that. Now that I just like movies because it helps me to illustrate or elucidate what I'm attempting to say. So it's like watching that movie 300, and you start to see that there's a group of men who are, you know what? There's honor, there's respect, in what one does on a day in and day out basis, and you know what? It goes beyond the earthly trappings or the earthly glory that is only held. And you start to see when the one who wanted to be a part of the fight, he wanted to be a part of the group, and he was like, can you hold this shield up? And he couldn't do it, but he wasn't happy with his place. He wasn't happy with where he was. So now all of a sudden he was offered something else. But this is just earthly things that somebody is trying to offer you. Are you going to sell your bloodline? Are you going to sell your bloodline for a hoagie sandwich? Are you willing to do that? And you saw at the end when he looked at that dude and he said, man, I hope you live forever. And he just put his head down. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to go beyond your little name tag that you got from work. You're going to have to go beyond your little money that you have in your bank account. You're going to have to go beyond the numbers that you have in your Rolodex. And you're going to come face to face with that soul's reflection, and it is going to ask you, who are you? Who are you? You better come with it. Because if not, I hope you live forever. I do. I hope you live forever. Man, You willing to put that work? It got to be in you and not on you. What's in you? Quit playing, man. Good grief. All right. So it goes on to say there are fewer gods than humans. And you see it's a little g, not a big G. But in God, and we're just gonna, just so we all have a working definition of God, is just something or someone of great influence. I know sometimes when people hear that, then all of a sudden your mind goes straight to one thing. But again, get up here. That's what I'm gonna say. Get up here. Like, yeah, whatever. All right. So, but understand, there was only 300 of them down there fighting, taking on wave after wave after wave. There's fewer gods than humans. Even talking about people who are immortals, you're going to run into all of these different systems, spiritual systems that people try to come in talking about, yes, this and that, and I'm going to put a hex on you and I'm going to do all of this. Man, come on, man. Come on, man. You're looking at somebody who's well-versed and well-studied and is part of a lineage and a line. Think your little threats are going to do anything to me? See, it's one thing to take advantage of somebody when they don't know. Then all of a sudden, fear starts to control somebody. And when fear starts to control them, then they start to do certain things or act out a certain way, or you can start to control their consciousness because they're afraid. But what happens when somebody gets that work? What happens when you're standing on solid foundation? We talked about that last time. When you're taking off from good ground. Now what? Can you be manipulated? Can somebody take advantage of you? Or can you just sit there and start to laugh and say, man, the words that you used to use that maybe was talking over my head that ultimately had control of me before, it no longer holds any weight anymore. I know what you're saying. And guess what? It's not that hard. It just requires you to invest and immerse yourself and be willing to let go and unlearn to relearn. Or you're caught up in your humanity. That's all. That is. We want nothing that is common. I don't know about you, but man, what really does this world have to offer you? And that doesn't mean that you get so heavenly minded that you are no earthly good. I've heard you say that before. I'm not that. Make that very clear. Be like, I'm sorry, Master Menelek, did you want to say anything?
Hey, I didn't want to cut you off.
All right.
Just listening, you get a lot of good points, so keep going, bro.
Okay. Good. All right, cool. I forgot. You was on it. My apologies. All right, so we want nothing that is common, but we aspire to maintain a spirit that is set apart, prestigious, and righteous. Anything else is not our new, man. It was in the, if you go back and listen to the anger, how to defeat anger, and one of the things that Chief had pointed out in that was talking about, I'm from, this is my block. We do this and we do that. I'm from East Side. We do this and we do that. I'm from the North Side. We do this and we do that. Can you go beyond that? Are you not tired of this? Are you not? Isn't that the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing, expecting a different result? Are you not tired of that? Can you not see through the BS? Are you not willing to go beyond the BS? Or are you just going to sit there and keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result? Because it requires you to level up. It requires you to be uncomfortable. It requires you to do just a little studying, to pick up a book instead of turning on the TV. Instead of just, I'm tired and I'm going to sleep. It was going to require you to invest a little energy as far as now, let me turn the podcast on, or let me turn the enlightenment and transformation on, as opposed to just watching mindless, brainless TV that ultimately is controlling me. Do you want to start to make an investment in yourself at all? At all. And it's easy to make that investment from the outside, because that's what so many do. And then they finally come in and say, ooh, whoa, 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 I didn't know it was like this. Y'all really challenging me. I don't want to be challenged. I don't want to level up. I just thought it was good information to hear. I just thought it was good information to come along and so I can skip down the street. And if I'm in a conversation with somebody at work, at least they'll look at me like the deep one. Oh, you know, yeah, Joseph be bringing it, man. Don't say something to Joseph, because Joseph, he's smart. He's smart. Until Joseph come into our new. And I'm like, hold on, man, what you say? Now you're going to level up. Are you willing to level up? Are you willing to say, you know what? And you're going to be challenged, just like in practice. I need to see what you can do in practice before I put you in a game. I need to see what you're going to do behind the scenes before you come in the front and all of a sudden you pee down your leg and I know I can't trust you. What are you going to do in this environment? What are you going to do in this situation? If somebody start asking you something, because guess what? If you say you're a part of a group, if you say you're a part of a community, if you say you're a part of a bloodline, then what happens now when you get challenged and you start to act out? You start to represent everybody in that group. So before I turn you loose and put you out into the world, let me see what you're talking about in practice. And now you start talking about AI. Practice? Yeah, practice. Because how you perform right here in practice is how you're going to perform when you're challenged out in the world. It has to be in you and not on you. And you can't pull from something that doesn't exist. So ultimately, what is in there? Is it the mindless, brainless TV that one watches on a day in and day out basis that ultimately now starts to create implicit and explicit bias? Or are you willing to say, you know what? I don't know much about anything. What is it? The Eastern philosophy and the Western philosophy, where the Western philosophy will say, the more I know, the smarter I am. And the more egoic one starts to become. Whereas that Eastern philosophy says, the more I know, the less I know about anything, because I know everything is connected. Man, I thought I knew this and I don't know much of anything, actually. And it's going to start to practice, what is it? Cultural humility versus cultural competency. Either you can be competent at something and know it, or you can practice cultural humility, which is going to tell you you're going to be an ongoing learner. And even you've heard Chief say this a million times, man, of I'm just a student. I'm just further along the path. I'm just further along the path. It's a wonderful thing to be a student. Wonderful thing to be a student. Because now, if something is not growing, guess what? It's dead. It's dead. How many people are holding on to dead information? How many people are holding on to dead religions? How many people are holding on to dead information? Like, what are you willing to grow? But growing is going to cause you to be uncomfortable. Growing is going to cause you to start to heal some of your trauma. So you can start to look at things through a more objective lens as opposed to a trauma lens. Are you willing to put that work in, though? Are you willing to do what is necessary in order for you to grow? Or are you going to keep holding on to that cultural insanity? And you holding on to your cultural competency and holding on to your little books that you ordered online. And now you're going to post them for the world to see like you actually doing something until you run into a juggernaut. Man, please. What we talking about here? And our new man. That's what we talking about. Get this work. And our new man, the Most High's representative on earth. Our new men are the visionaries of our new nation. Our new men work to create an environment of safety and comfort for all that they preside over. You gonna come get this work. Ain't gonna sit up here and gonna be talking about you the master of a homestead and you can't even hold a conversation. You can't even hold a point. You can't even hold this little baby point that you done came in here with somebody and slapped that thing around. Come on, man. Pause. Yeah, that came out wrong.
That did remind me though of when our cohort first came in, when I came in, and it was a simple instruction that we were given. It was just stick to the script. You know, you keep coming in with all of these flowery sayings and you keep trying to sound deep, And it sounded like you had a lot before you came here. You just got a little bit extra after you read down the way. It's like, just stick to the script. You know that what you're coming in and what you're being presented with is much better than what you've been scrambling around and trying to piece together. You know, this has been painstakingly crafted, you know, and gifted to you. You know, like Tifa said, once people see something that's free, then they don't value it, you know. But a wise person is like, a wise person only needs a hint, you know. And a lot of people hear it, and because it's such a simple statement, they just let it, you know, go to one ear and come out the other. But the more you sit with it, the more you study, the more you practice, the more you realize how valuable what it is you got is, because it's so difficult to perfect. You know, you can only perfect it once you go over it over and over again. And it's something that you did say. You know, I give you credit for this one. It's like tea. You know, it's like a tea bag. You only know what's in it when you put it in hot water. You got to put it under that pressure. I had mentioned to, I think we were talking in the men's group, and I brought up a segment that Chief did previously on procrastination. You know, and a lot of people often say that I work well under pressure. You know, talking about people who wait until the last minute to do stuff. You had all the time in the world to do it. You know, you had all the opportunities to do it, but you wait until the last second to do it. And then you somehow bang it out, you know, but it's only like maybe 30% of what you could have done with prep time and actual applied effort. But you say you work well under pressure, but you're not working well under pressure, you're just panicking, you know. And there are certain situations where you can't panic because the stakes are too high. You know, you can't afford that panic. You gotta prepare. And the only way you can prepare is to be that perpetual student, you know, and actually apply what it is that's being poured into you. There's a saying, there's like a phrase that I heard recently. I thought it was kind of funny. It's ASK, hold. You know, I don't want to be mistaken for what it's a parody of, but it's an ask hold. And what that is someone who continually asks for advice and doesn't apply any of it, but they keep coming back to ask for it. You know, and it's like you said, it's got to be on you. It's got to be in you. It can't just be on you. It's got to be in you. You know, so those some of the things, you know, I just wanted to add to the bill.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it like I said. It got to be in you. Hey, I'm going to keep it.
Stay on mute. I swear I was just going to listen.
Alright, so you summon your Kirihito. You summon the Zap by saying Neo 5 times. You misquote Chief Zilla. Where did he come from?
You summon Master Menelik just by using any Japanese name. Any Japanese.
Yeah, but it's one of them, one of those where you like you just said, procrastination. Well, this is this is the saying people say. It used to tell me, procrastination is like masturbation. You go nowhere fast. Whatever. All right. So if one starts to, and the way I'm starting to look at this is something that just popped in my head. Like if I go to the gym and I work out, right? At some point now, I'm going to have a max out day. Like I'm going to see where I'm at and where the progress that I've made in order now to obtain or to make a new goal. It's very easy now if I can't get in here and start to say, oh yeah, I've been doing X, Y, and Z, because now what they like in basketball, that weight ain't gonna lie to you. It's gonna show you whether you've been putting in work. It's gonna show you whether you have been doing something. It's gonna show you whether you've just been coming in and you have been living a fantasy and a dream of saying that I want to lose weight, but I actually don't have a vision. The dream is just going to give you like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do and what I aspire to do. The vision is going to tell you how you're going to get it done. So many people have a dream, but then when you come into our new, the vision is going to tell you you got to put that work in. It's going to tell you that now Monday and Tuesday, this is what you're going to do. Thursday, Friday, this is what you're going to do. Wednesday, this is what you're going to do, which is now going to cause you to grow. It's going to cause you to be uncomfortable. It's going to cause you now to push yourself sometimes past your limits to see that, you know what, like my movie The Matrix, there is no spoon. There is no spoon. Or when he was fighting and kicking and bend over and then start breathing, is that air you breathing? And then you start to think about it. Damn, I actually can go a whole lot further than the own limits that I've placed on myself. But it's gonna take, maybe sometimes you have to get a trainer. And the trainer now is going to start to push you. Hold on now, you got a little more. Hold on, you got one more rep. You can do another set. You can go beyond what you think you can do because this is what society has told you your limits of what you can and cannot do. So now what happens when somebody comes inside of our new? You got a lot of trainers. You got a lot of people that's going to push you and say, hold on, man. You can go beyond this. You can do more than this. Are you willing to put the work in? Are you willing to sit in the chair and say, you know what, I'm willing to learn, man. I'm willing to grow, and I already know it's going to be uncomfortable, but I know I cannot return home the same person I was yesterday that I am today. That is the one thing that is going to cause me to have the most regret in my life. That's the one thing that's going to start to eat away at me is returning to home the same way and in the same condition and the same environment today as I was when I came out at the end of the day. Or when I came home at the end of the day, yeah. But it's just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Chief.
Well, no, I ain't want to break up your flow. You know, but you were pausing. Were you pausing?
I am now.
Okay. Yeah, no, it was something that you had. I mean, first of all, thank you. You have obviously put a lot of mental power and energy and time into what you wanted to share today with everyone, man. So I want to personally thank you, man, because you're delivering in a very masterful way, and it's very easy to understand what you're saying, though what you're saying is really fundamental. You know what I mean? So thank you for putting it together in a way that is understandable. You know, there was something that you had mentioned earlier in regards to like salvation, the salvation model you were speaking about. And it just kind of really, it pricked something in me, just in my thinking, something that you were saying. And I think, or I know, a lot of people, and based on what you're sharing with us, if you can apply like everything that the brother is saying, if you can apply the concept of salvation over it, it lightens up in a certain kind of way, because salvation oftentimes, it means to save. So salvation is being saved from some sort of danger or some sort of peril that you may be in. But more specifically, when you're looking at the higher frequency of salvation, it's to renovate your internals. It's to purge and cleanse yourself of whatever dysfunction or whatever wickedness that you may have inside of you. And in doing that, you're able to return to your original intended spiritual state that you have as when you were born, basically. So if you apply all of these different things that are being said in terms of like the brother saying, you got to put the work in, putting the work in, right? Putting that work in, in terms of salvation would be an internal cleansing. But I think some of the things that he's also speaking about in terms of like the lackluster performance of certain people is a result of them not understanding that the moment you decide that you want to set a goal, for something beyond where you're at, and an opponent arises inside of you. You know, I was thinking about his sports references. You know, you're leveling up as a sport. You know, achievement is a sport. So what happens is that, you know, it's not a sport that you're going to play by yourself. It's not many sports that you know, you always compete. You're competing against something. So once you step on the field and you say, okay, boom, it's time for me to go from here to there, then the opponent steps on the field and says, all right, let's play. And a lot of times people, when they see the opponent, they're like, what? What are you doing here? And they get frustrated and they want to leave. And it's like, this is just how it goes. Where you going? You know, like, I'm going to be here when you come back. So you might as well just do it now because I'm not going anywhere. You know, and, you know, a lot of times, sometimes people don't realize that we have certain tenets that are etched in our heart when we're born. And over time, there are external factors and influences that will write over those tenets. And what happens is that when you want to quit, right, or you want to fall back because you're not able to accept that the opponent that arose is equal to your current level. If I'm at a level 7, I want to upgrade to a level 8, I step on the field, another level 7 is going to step on the field. A level 2 or level 3 is not going to step on the field. I can't level up with that. You know, so a level 7 steps up. So my opposition is going to be equal to where I am. So in order to beat my opposition, I got to go to a level 8. You know, if go using the workout example, if I tell my homeboy we're going to go work out Friday and it's next Friday and I'm in the gym right now, but I'm only able to bench 3 plates. And I know he's going to want to do more than that. Then what I'm going to have to do is when I go in, I'm going to have to put, you know, a 10 pound plate on each side. I got to do a little bit more than where I'm at today because I'm going to be competing with today tomorrow. You see? So what happens is a lot of times we have these other old stories etched in our heart. And sometimes it can cause pain, you know, because when we are leveling up or we do achieve, those who may have helped to write that old story on your heart, they'll always remind you. You know, like you may have a situation where you go out and something happens and, you know, maybe there could have been a physical altercation, but you decide not to lose your temper. And then you come back home, you say, hey, man, this just happened. And I decided to respond in this way. And they'll remind you like, yeah, well, that was this time because you know how you really are. You know, and that can feel hurtful. You know what I mean? You bringing me right back, man. I thought I was, you know, going here, but it's because we're letting those external factors confirm the internal change, and it doesn't work like that. So it's the same thing when it's time to level up. And like, you know, Aki Zach is saying, there are people who just kind of wimp out, chicken out. A lot of times it's because they have so many people in their environment who will confirm the old story. Oh man, forget that I knew, man. You know, they asking too much of you. It's not that deep. You don't have to do all of that. So they're not erasing, you know, or you're having trouble erasing those tenets and those doctrine that have been put over the original thing that's in your heart. But when you come into an environment like this, we're going to look at your heart. And some of us have the abilities like X-ray vision. We can look beyond the story. And we can look at the tenets that were put there originally and say, oh, no, you have this power. You have this gift. You're here. You're there. And that's what we're going to speak to. And that's what we're going to bring forth through the education of this experience. But everybody else is telling you the old story, and it gets difficult. So, yeah, man, I'm adding on, but you're doing a masterful work.
And I'm going to just say this. I want to add this because after some of the sessions that we have with the orientation, and people they say thank you, Zach, for your time. I'm going to say somebody spent a lot of time with me. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Right? And it ain't somebody, it's Chief. Spent a lot of time with me. I was asking 15. I still do it to this day, but there'd be times we'd be on the phone for 3, sometimes 4 hours. And he would say, do you not, hey man, I gotta go. Hey man, you wearing me out. Do you have any more questions? Now I don't know about y'all, but when somebody pours so much into you, you feel indebted. You feel like I can't just walk away from somebody when they have now invested so much energy and time. And not to say that the ego was invested or, oh, I have to be the one to teach you, but I'm just giving from my heart. Only to now turn around and just spit on them. Nah, man, you know what? All that time is wasted because I feel more comfortable at church. I feel more comfortable with this other group as opposed to now not respecting what actually just happened. Say, you know what? There's going to be a time, absolutely, when if I say that this is what I'm about, just what Chief just said, there's going to be somebody who stands up and says, okay, let's play. And that might be an internal thing that I've been working out, or I need to work on. They're saying, okay, I'm a part of you that was damaged. Are you willing to go beyond this level, or are you going to stay stuck, or are you going to revert back to what you've been doing? You have a wonderful opportunity, and why wouldn't you take the opportunity when you have around people around you who are beyond your level 7? Who are beyond your, oh, I defeated that level. Let me show you the game. I can point you straight to the podcast. Chief has already done it and broke this down. So now, why would you want to go back and say, oh yeah, just trust in, hey, pray for those who pray on you, brother. Just trust in the process, brother. No, I'm going to show you this is how you defeat that level. But you got to be willing to put the work in order to defeat that level, to go beyond to the next level. But you're going to step on that field. Yeah, you're going to have to run through that A gap. Or even if you play chess, you have a rating. You're going to play people that you are rated against. And if you want to get a higher rating, well, then now you got to master that level. Are you willing to put the work in, or are you just going to now run like a coward? When now somebody challenges you, or you have an internal problem that now ultimately just jumps up and says, hold on, what about me? You remember that time when you going to challenge this, you going to face this, or you going to run and say, you know what, that's something that I don't want to face. That problem is too big. And it goes back, it makes me think of the movie Troy, when the young boy went to Achilles and was like, you know the guy that you're about to fight? He's very large, man, and I wouldn't want to fight him. He looked at the young man and he said, that's why nobody will ever remember your name. Now I'm a pregnant pause. That's why nobody will ever remember your name. If you keep doing the same thing and you expecting something different, or you just get comfortable in your situation and you keep reverting back to the old things and the old habits and your old ways, you're going to die like that. Are you going to level up? Are you going to face challenges with the same vigor and violent vitriolic rage that you face when somebody said, they know not to try me because I go off. I go off. Are you willing to face yourself like that? To say that when that spirit comes up, you're willing to face that and say, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to move from a level of peace. We're going to, if I'm saying that I'm the fewer gods than humans, I can't have a human reaction if I'm telling you that now I'm moving like a god. That can't happen. I can't now revert back to old coping mechanisms of things that now made me feel safe when I tell if I'm professing and saying something and knowing that somebody has already mastered this level and is pouring back into me. You got to be able to man up, man. And that just doesn't mean men, women too, man. Men, come on. At some point, it's like, are you willing to challenge yourself to go beyond it? Are you not tired? That's what it says. Are you not sick and tired of being tired? Of knowing that there's something more out there, knowing that even you look at the boulets and you see all of these systems put in place to protect this, and you're like, man, I'm not a pawn. I don't want to be a pawn in this game anymore. I'm willing to level up. I want to become a bishop now. Let me become a knight now. Let me become a queen now. Let me become a rook now. Let me become a king now. Let me just do something other than just the little pieces that are put in front to protect what's in the back end. Or I wouldn't want to do that. That's why nobody's never going to remember your name. That's just on you. But again, I don't know how I was going to work this in, but I'm going to work it in anyway. This is another person we're talking globally astute, right? Of one, this is what it looks like, though, to put the work in. Keen in discernment. What is discernment? Being able to see the truth. How does one start to see the truth? Now you gotta start to fast from certain things. Certain things that you did that you're not gonna be, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna take 10 days off from this. I'm gonna take 14 days off from this. I'm gonna take a whole month off from this. So that now when I revisit it, I'm like, ooh, now I'm able to see the truth and what actually was going on. I couldn't see it. That's when they say you can't see the forest through the trees. So now it's not until I get a higher perspective of things that now I can see some of the things or some of the ways that I've been living and some of the things that I've been doing. Yeah, man, that wasn't the truth. That was for a way for me to undermine the truth by me saying, oh, this is my truth. This is my truth, and you got to respect my truth. Not until you start to fast from your truth that you start to see the truth. And the truth is you were disrespecting your own self, you were disrespecting your journey, and you're disrespecting your walk because you didn't want to take time to take a break from some of the things. Hey, no, I'll just go off. I'll pop off. You don't want to take time from ingesting certain TV. You don't want to take time from ingesting certain foods. You don't want to take time from doing the things that you've been doing and expecting to think that you're going to get somewhere else. You don't want to step away from that and say, hold on, man, I'm going to take 30 days and I'm not going to do this. I'm going to see how my body feels now without putting swine in it. I'm going to see how my body feels without just consuming soda and sugary items on a day in and day out basis. Let me see how my body responds without it after 30 days. If I don't feel like I now have more energy and I now can respond as opposed to trying to get coffee and trying to get it. So now that I can ultimately share my energy, which is now going above and beyond just trying to, what some people would say, charity, which the highest form of charity would be to extending and giving your energy. And then when you start to receive that energy and you start to get life, or that Ruach Kodesh is what you start to hear people say, you start to receive that spirit of what now that how can you, for me, that's what I'm going to just speak for me. I don't know how you can walk away from that and revert back to what one has been doing after so much has been poured into you. At any rate, I don't know. Keen in discernment and careful of one's self-interest regarding where to reside and being aware of what is occurring in the world. Regarding where to reside, your environment will have an impact on the way you think and on the way you move. You can try to bully your environment, but I'm telling you, it's like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, your environment will always be stronger than your teaching. You can learn and you can listen and you can, but at some point, you look around. Look around and see how it starts to, I don't want to say manipulate, but in essence, you could say manipulate your decisions and influence. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you. Influence your decisions. And when it starts to influence your decisions, then you got to start to see, well, are these decisions be pre-programmed? And now I'm going to go back to, again, the show that was done on motion and motivation. I'm gonna do it, actually. Maybe the next time I'm on here. That show is good. And I'm telling you, that should be a precursor or the first thing that one should start to listen to is, am I motivated doing the things that I'm doing, or am I simply going through the motions? And who ultimately is invested in me just going in the motions that now they're benefiting from this? That's something that the great Amos Wilson said again, is never look at the problem, always look at who benefits from the problem, and you'll see why the problem exists. That's going beyond the human trappings, though. That's now starting to see the game. You're starting to see it being broke down for you on a day in and day out basis. I'm putting some of these things in here because some of this is being taught in the master level class, but I really want you to see that it's already been put in front of you. Are you going to respect what you see in front of you, or do you feel like there got to be more? That's sometimes that journey, though, that one has to go on of going down that yellow brick road. I don't have this and I don't have that. It must be something bigger until you finally pull back the curtain. You're like, this it? Come on, man. I swore there was more in here than this. I know there was more in here. There got to be more to it than this. I was up here thinking that these people were so far beyond me, and they just were using words that were speaking over your head. That's all. That's all. But if you actually invest in what's put in front of you, now all of a sudden, it's like, where you learning from? Where you getting this from? But I know it doesn't cost you $1 million, so it can't be worth that much, right? I know if it's really worth something, it would have Chief should be charging like a lot more for you to get this information, huh? Which I understand. Yeah. People are so caught up in, if I'm not spending a lot of money for something, then it actually is not worth something. That's like in the MIBs, Men in Black, when my man was like, there's a whole galaxy and it looked like it can fit on a keychain. And then he's like, man, what's wrong with you humans? You think that because something is valuable, it has to be large or greater in size. No. But that's a human way of thinking. It's a matter of, can you recognize what's really going on in front of you? But again, only interested in the special ones. Some people are closer to the tower than others. Some people get a better signal than others. So it's like looking at your phone and saying that, you know what, I got 1 bar. So now maybe that signal is cutting in and out, and I really can't understand the person on the other end of the line. You like, huh? What'd you say? I'm making out a little bit, but I can't really understand. But now when you start to put in that work though, and you start to climb, now you get another bar. Okay, I can hear you a little better now. I can see what's going on in front of me a little better now. Oh, that's what you said in this? Oh, okay. That's what you breaking down family, and why a lot of this anxiety and depression is coming from, because I didn't go through a betrothal. I didn't do a courting phase and actually understand what was going on in front of me, actually understand what a man is, and actually coming from what a woman is, and seeing how we join together and how we complement one another. I didn't look at any of that, but now I'm starting to see it. Now I'm starting to hear you, because I'm now putting the work in and I'm climbing the now I got another bar. Now it's starting to really come through, where I'm starting to see not only my own issues, but now I'm starting to see the issues that start to plague the world. And now I'm starting to see even the players that start to now dangle, or that unseen hand that starts to program and manipulate consciousness. Now you're starting to get closer to the tower, but that causes one to put the work in the climb. Or the giant is very large, and I wouldn't want to fight him. That's why nobody's never going to remember your name. That's on you. That's on you. Yeah, I know. But you don't understand. There's that but all the time. I think what Chief say, that but, you go from divinity to speaking out your ASS. I know but I know, these are the things that I've been looking at, but I signed up and I was really invested at that particular time, but man, I was on the right path and I was actually in there, but go right back to talking out your butt. At what point do you say, you know what, enough is enough? I can't keep living like this. I can't keep doing, that's the 3 C's. I must make a choice to take a chance, or my life will never change. It's never going to change. They had whole commercials on that. You go to the gym, go to work, go to the club and have a drink, and they try to tell you which drink you should be drinking, rinse and repeat, or just wait for the weekend. I'm waiting for Saturday and Sunday or Friday night when I can turn up, and then I'll just go back to work. Oh, the man always on me. The man always doing this. And I'm just trying to get by. Why is it? Are you not ready to just get by, but are you ready to thrive? That's that when I used to tell Chief, I'm keeping my head above water, man. He said, man, you ain't supposed to keep your head above water. You're supposed to walk on water. Now, yeah, everything in me started to be like, you can't, man, that's in a book. You can't walk on water. That's not possible. That can't be done. That can't be achieved. But then as I see him standing there and just talking with no notes, I want to do that. I want what he got. I can't just sit up here and keep pointing at, yeah, look at him. Hold on now. Something in me is like, whoa. I gotta go. I gotta hold my own nuts, man. I I can't sit there and keep pointing to another man. And I know he beyond me. Don't get me wrong. But that ain't mean I'm gonna start putting the work in and try to get up there. That ain't gonna happen. Now, some of you may be comfortable with that. That's not in me. That's not in me, and it shouldn't be in you. At any rate, but where to reside and being aware of what is occurring in the world. Yeah, just being globally astute and knowing and moving and grooving. Did any of y'all have anything you want to add? Before
Yeah, I got something.
Okay.
So your last point I thought was really powerful in terms of like, from my perspective, I'll speak and say, like, I'm not interested in anyone who remains around me who is an infant. So I have told Aki Zach on many occasions, because a lot of times he will ask, like, hey, anything I can do for you? What can I do for you? Anything I can do? I'm so thankful for what you've offered me freely. I want to give something back. And I'm always telling him, yo, just keep growing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep growing. That's the payback, because I'm able now to build this fortress around me, and the fortress being other strong men, so you standing firm on that is the that's the thing, that's the key. So I would just say that, just in terms of anyone who may feel that way, like, inside of this space, I'm all about people standing on their own. And again, I've said so many times, making myself obsolete, because there's going to come a time when, I'm not needed. I hope there better come a time where I'm not needed. Maybe it'd be cool to go talk to the old man and get some advice, but, not needed in the sense like, okay, you need another man to teach you how to be a man, to teach you about your finances and dealing with women and things like that. I want that era that we're working, to end that. So, everyone growing and everyone doing what they're supposed to do is a blessing to me, and at the beginning of the day, I enjoy women. So I don't want a harem of men underneath me. That was never the goal when I first put our new together. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna have this brother over here. I'm gonna get a brother from down south, a brother from out west. You know what I mean? Brother from up north.
Hit the 5 points. Right,
hit the 5 points. Then my overseas brothers. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm gonna be controlling and manipulating and puppet back. Nah, I like women. You know what I mean? So, it's never the intention to have a bunch of unqualified and people around me who are not capable, even the females, just to make that extra point. And you read that in a new way. Women are not supposed to be infantilized, so everyone has to grow up. Everyone has to be grown. And it's, my visualization is always like, we're a bunch of superheroes, and each superhero has a different power. I mean, you may come in on the scene like Hawkman, you know what I mean? But he still at least has the power of flight, you know what I mean? So he got something in that little hammer that from the hardware store. But he got a mace, like he got a medieval mace from the hobby shop. But he can fly. I mean, that's something, right? I mean, even though all of them can fly, but hey, except for Aquaman, but Aquaman could feel how fish are feeling. Dolphin is sad. What are we gonna do with that, Aquaman? You can't do nothing with it. This crab is horny, so, what I mean? But yeah, so I just, that's how I visualize it, man. Everybody has something different that they do, and everyone has a different talent. And we're looking to take this great Akashic record of energy and power and spirit, of Ruach, and see how it flows through each person who comes with their own specialness. Because we all have something different. And my job is just to try to channel that energy. Here, you take it. It's almost like breathing the breath of life. Now, once you have your breath of life, let's see how you take it and you respect it. It's like the servants with the talents. Like, will you hide your breath of life? Will you take this information and this wisdom and then go run in a little cubby hole where you can be the king or the queen of this tiny space? Or will you take it and feed it and nurture it and say, you know what, stretch me out as far as I can possibly go and repair things like my intuition so I can learn how to properly observe myself and not make assumptions about myself. I can learn how to properly surrender myself to a process. That's a large part of it too, because surrendering yourself is a reminder that you can't force growth, and you can't force insights. It doesn't come like that. Those things kind of come when you don't expect them to come. So you have to let go of what you think things should be, but what if this happens? Or what if that happens? You got to let go of that, because those things, they do nothing but cloud your thinking. And the average human has over 60,000 thoughts per day. 60,000. So it comes to a point where you learn to listen for the right answers by going through a process of surrendering and asking and knowing. And knowing means I'm going to seek out right information for what my circumstances. So my job is to get everyone having that ability where they can ask the right questions, they can observe themselves honestly, they know how to properly state their problem, which is a big one. What's really going on? When you can really frame your problem or your situation or your challenge properly, and most importantly, frame it as a question. Because any challenge you have should lead you on a quest, not just beat you down. This is how I am. This is who I am. But it should lead you on a quest. So all challenges are a question. And you allow yourself that ability. So yeah, I just wanted to speak upon that, man, because I thought it was important, and just me in my position to share, like, this is my goal. Like, y'all goal may be to learn and to grow, and I'm learning and growing too, don't get me wrong. But as it pertains to the people who I'm responsible for, is to get them to a place where they're standing strong on their own and don't need me at all. We could just kick it, and they learn to trust what it is that they're discovering and what they're doing when they take bold steps, and then how to kind of repeat that cycle. And a big thing to that, real quick, before I mute back out, is people have to learn how to use pencil and paper again and write down your thoughts and write down the solutions that are provided to you. And there'll be certain ones that will jump out, and you'll be able to, when you develop your intuition properly, you'll know which one is best. But you have to pay attention to the first thoughts that come to your mind. It's just like when we say, well, you only get one chance to first impressions.
Mm-hmm.
With thoughts are the same way. Thoughts pop up. There's a first thought that pops up. And typically that first thought is not going to be contaminated by anxiety. It's not going to be contaminated by an old story or contaminated by your fears. Like, oh man, I should join I knew. First thought, first impression. And then the fear kicks in. Yeah, but Chief seems like he's kind of rough around the edges, and I don't want them knowing my business. And I'm the type of person I think it's better to learn alone. And, probably if I just keep studying this information and stuff, I'll fix it. I'll be able to work it out. All the wishful thinking and things like that, But pay attention to those first impressional thoughts. Yeah, I just wanted to share
that. And Master Midlake, did you want to say anything? I want to.
I had one of those Japanese anime moments flash through my head. There's this anime, like, I think this is my version of the Matrix. this show is to me what the Matrix is, but there's a lot in there.
Come with it.
But it's called Hunter x Hunter, right? And there's this one arc where this, I'll try to condense it, but there's these creatures who basically, whenever they eat something, their necks the next in line or the next generation of offspring, it has traits of what they ate. So long story short, they're able to eat humans. They get big enough to eat humans. Then they get big enough to eat humans with superpowers, which becomes a real issue because each generation is stronger than the last. So now they have like the strongest one that they're ever going to have. And he's basically got enough power to rule the world. He knows it. The heroes know it. It's literally a matter of time. So he's just passing the time. One of the things he decides to do is he gathers like the masters of strategy games, and he basically defeats them. He plays against them until he learns how to play the game. And once he gets to the point where he can easily beat them, then he kills them and he brings in the next one. So now here it is. He's on like the last one, and it's this little blind girl, and he cannot beat her. And he's trying to figure out why he can't win. So after a while, he starts getting frustrated. And he has the personality, and he portrays the archetype of the king. And he has his own sense of personal pride, but he has a moment where he slips because he's so frustrated that he can't get what he wants. So now he says, all right, I got an idea. So he says, for this next game, let's make a wager. So she's like, a wager? But this game is all she thinks about. So she doesn't have anything in mind. It's like, if you win this game, I'll give you any desire you want, right? I'll grant any wish you ask me for. And she's like, any wish I ask for? And she was like, I don't know. I can't think of nothing. And he's like, all right. But if you can think, I can think about it after I win the game. And he's like, all right. But if you lose, I'll take your left arm. And she's like, okay. But that might be a problem. And she's like, why? He's like, why? The king is like, what do you mean that might be a problem? And she's like, well, I'm the only breadwinner in my family. When I grew up, my parents always told me that I was a burden on the family and that I wasn't worth anything. And it was only after I started getting checks from winning these championships at these tournaments that I was actually worth something. But I'm the sole breadwinner for my family. So if I lose, then I lose my title. And it said that after a master of this game loses once, they become a normal person. So that means I'll go back to being garbage. So if I lose to you, then all the king would get in return is garbage. So I don't know if that might be a problem for you. You know, now the king is he's a little pricked in his heart because in the beginning he was thinking to himself, fear and desire hold the key, right? Desire clouds your vision and fear stills your steps. So either one of these things is going to cause her to fall to you. But she's like, no, after I decided to myself, once I started to be a professional, the day I lose, I'll become a burden. So I'll take my own life. You know, so he's like, whoa. So she doesn't know what she wants. So she doesn't have desire. And she's already decided to take her own life. So she doesn't have fear. And he starts laughing to himself. And he's like, your left arm, that's nothing compared to your life. So it looks like I was the one who didn't really have any resolve. So he apologized to her. He's not human, but it was still like a dramatic moment. He apologized to her by taking off his own left arm. You know, and of course he gets patched up by his physicians and everything. But it just showed like that fear and desire that cause you to really slow up, or like Chief was saying, like your vision gets clouded. You know, you're not really looking ahead with clear vision. You're moving forward like foggy, and it's not until you get clear on what it is that you're doing that you'll actually start to put that effort in, or you start to move with conviction. Because otherwise, it's like that saying, if you don't know where you're going, any map will do. You know, anyone can tell you to do anything, and you'll just do it because you're so aimless and you're so afraid to really sit back and say, what is my purpose? what was I put here for? What am I going to be doing? And like Chief said, that first answer, it comes to you, and then I like the way Aki started put it. You just start talking out your butt. You put all these butts in, and it slows you down, and you just start walking in circles. Walking in circles, and you're wondering why you're not going anywhere. Walking in a perfect circle, and you don't even recognize your own footprints. So yeah, that's what I wanted to get in mind.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I'm the one that came up with that talking out your butt.
TM. Registered copyright trademark.
I didn't. Hey, y'all be giving stuff. Give it to me. I'm going to take it. I'm gonna take it. Oh, man. But I was thinking of when it was something that you said and something that Chief has said, even when he was talking about the quest, right? And even in your story, when you were saying how this guy was playing the game, and he started defeating everybody. And one of the things that Chief had even broken down before is, with inside of a question, is that quest is the journey that one now has to start to go on. So if we start to even look at The Alchemist, you start to look at The Matrix, you start to look at all, you don't you don't come to enlightenment by sitting still. How do you know? I can sit there and I can say, yeah, I know all of these things, until now all of a sudden, like Chief said, you're gonna get challenged on that. Let's see how enlightened you are when now somebody steps in the room and says, all right, get to the other side with what you just said. You're going to get challenged. You're going to go on a journey. That journey is going to require you to grow. That journey is going to require you to pull out things that you never knew that you had the ability to do. That journey is going to push you beyond your comfort zone. That's what the journey is going to push you. So you now all of a sudden you can become anew. So many things start to now creep in your head, or so many players that we can even look at of adversity start to creep in your head, of telling you why you can't do something, or why this challenge is too big, or why this thing is too great, why this thing you should just stay where you're at, because I'd rather dance with the devil I know than entertain the one that I don't know, because I don't know what's going to be on the other side of this. I don't know what's going to become of me if I actually go and take this journey and say, you know what, I'm going to commit and submit to the process. Commit and submit to the process. Come under the plan. I don't know what's going to happen to me. So as long as I can now still maintain my identity in this one, then I feel a whole lot better about myself. Just like when we look at the Matrix, when the man thought, before Neo met Morpheus, he thought he was doing something. Hacking the little system, hacking his little computer code, and doing all these little things. Nah, you got to go on a journey. You got to make a decision. You have to make a choice to take a chance. When they put him in that car and they said, open the door and let me out, man, that thing was real. When they pulled it out of his stomach, that was, whoa, that was I thought I was dreaming. All of it, when Chief starts breaking down the Boule system, and he starts telling you how to defeat anger, and he starts telling you about the overarching themes that are going on above your head, that people are controlling and manipulating and programming minds from an unseen hand, all of a sudden you might look at, whoa, that's real? That's real? Yes. Yes, but it's going to require you to move. It's going to require you to go on a journey. It's going to require you to go on a quest. You can't just hand it to you. You saw when he started, I'm going to show you what this thing really looks like. All of a sudden he threw up. Just no. I understand, because once the mind gets a hold of something, it's hard to let it go. But are you willing to take that journey though? Started learning, he said, this guy's like a machine. A machine. He's talking to Spanish people. They were a machine. Somebody I know. All right. But it's like a machine, man. And just learning and just taking on information. But then even then says, I know Kung Fu, show me. you still got to move. It's not just a matter of learning something and wearing it like a shirt. It has to be in you. And if it's in you, then now you can start to adapt with the information that you're learning, and you can start to put it and present it in different ways and make it fit and make it go in here. Oh, okay, maybe it can connect with this, and maybe I can piece this with this. It has to be in you, though. It's not just something that you sit back and say, yeah, I can regurgitate what Chief has said. I can regurgitate what Master Menelik has said. I can regurgitate what Aki El Karar has said. You can, that's one of them things that they say, often imitated, never duplicated. You're not going to get the same results. That's when people start trying to, I'm doing the same thing. Chief told me that if I get some milk and some this and some that, and I do this, I should be able to get that, right? That's because you're going through the mechanics of it, but you're not knowing the science of it. You're going through the process, just like going through the motion. But the science is actually going to cause you to commit, and it's going to change you on a molecular level. That's going to say, yeah, now I, instead of me looking for the charm, I become the charm. Instead of me starting to look for a savior, I become the savior. But that's going to cause you to go through a process. That's going to cause you to be squeezed. That's going to cause you to be in uncomfortable positions. That's going to cause you to sit in a hot seat. That's going to cause you for somebody to now sit in front of you and say, man, what you doing with your life? Are you willing to level up? This is the thing that you say you've been doing. Are you doing any of that? Oh, I haven't done it for the past 10 months. So then what are we talking about here? Well, why y'all attacking me? Why y'all coming at me? Because you saying that if you running with bulls, and you got to get up here with bulls. You can't just be an infant in this game and thinking, but I'm just happy to be here. Because now everybody's going to look at you and say, well, what are you doing here? You got to earn your ranks. You got to earn it. It's not just given. And it becomes a whole lot better when you earn it. You feel like, instead of just like, I'm here because of my friend. And now all of a sudden you just sitting there, and then when something happens, you looking for your friend to bail you out. No, put the work in and you say, man, I earned my position in here. I've earned it in here. So y'all can come at me, y'all, but I'm about this life. I'm about this life, man. And I'm invested in it, and I'm going to do it to the day that I die. Or otherwise, nobody's going to remember your name. Yeah. All right. See, now this is the time when I would use to close the show, but no Emma Yakira here to help. Yeah, say your name too. At any rate, does anybody else have anything they want to add? All right.
Things looking good.
All right, cool.
Yeah, that's a lot. Just give thanks. Give thanks for what you were sharing.
All right, cool, man. Hey, give thanks for y'all coming out. I always, again, Chief, man, thank you. Of just the consistent work, the consistent dedication, the consistent heart, and the consistent effort that you just continually just keep going, no matter what odds of your own circumstances that you're dealing with, of what's going on in your own life, it still show up on a day in and day out basis, which always is just the light that's like, okay, which I know there's a light above your head that we all should be focusing on, but it's just it brings me great joy to just see it in real life, see it being manifested, and seeing somebody do what they actually said that they were going to do and not waver from it. And so I appreciate that. Yeah.
You're welcome, brother. Thank you.
All right. So again, we'll be back. I don't know, one day, Thursday. Oh, Tuesday. All right. Y'all just stay tuned in on the podcast, Chief's podcast. You got Enlightenment Transformation on Thursday evening. You got Friday, the Reflection. I know it ain't Shima anymore. The Reflections, and then back here on Sunday. But again,
man, he is butchering.
It's one of them.
And this is where even when your Karen will step in. Peace. Okay. So he is destroying it. I don't even know none of those shows. I don't know what network. What is that? UPN? Or I don't know what.
Hilarious.
It's like, yeah, you can tune in on. Right, Saturday is happy time with the children. We got trick drill, video segments that we can do, after dark. He just making up stuff. Just be like, just look out for us. Remember, just say that. Google us. Just Google us.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Hold on. We got a Chati Yafe.
Come to save the day.
Yeah.
The balance. That's why he needs assistance.
Did you want to say something, or do you want to remain on mute?
You know that mics never worked the first
Yeah,
time.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely.
Hello, So.
Oh, there you go.
See, there we go.
Oh, giving me a headache.
I was talking my head off. Please give thanks, Achi Zach, for the bill. It is always strong and masterfully delivered, as Chief said earlier. I was coming in just like, peace. And yes, Tuesday, Chief has his podcast. On Thursday, we do have our show Improve with Aki El Karar, or we might have another treat with Chief. You can find us on www.anulifeglobal.org/join. We also have our retreat coming up, and non-members are eligible to go, but with the accompaniment of a member. So that's it. And then we'll see you again on Friday for our fellowship build. And that will be with you, Master Benulin. So give thanks.
Right, and don't forget the Anu car wash, with the rich spot. Rich spot next to it.
And foot massage. Don't forget the foot massage.
Right. Don't forget the foot massage.
Exercise and foot massage.
Y'all giving me a headache, man. All right. Yeah. Thank y'all for coming out. But really take a look at yourself. Take a look at where you're at, and definitely say, you know what? Are you willing to face some of these giants, some of your own inner giants that maybe you have been running from? Are you willing to face some of these external giants that maybe you have been running from? And willfully, somebody will remember your name. Or you can just go run and hide like many cowards do. But just remember, there are fewer gods than there are humans. Get up here. Peace.
Peace. Thank you all. Peace.